What I've given you are three alternatives to the feeding program of any farmer out there. You can pick from any of those three alternatives that I've shown you, and you can feed your chickens well. Now let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the true costs of those feeds, guys. So quickly, I'm going to prove to you guys why there's no such thing as cheap feeds. You know, you've heard people say, cheap feeds, I'm going to mix cheap feeds, everything is cheap. People want cheap feeds, but there's no such thing. I'm going to prove to you why that's not the case. So let's take a look at this table right here on this spreadsheet. Now we have the weekly costs. As you can see, we have the commercial feeds. We have the this is my data here which I've tried before. So you either buy commercial feeds or use concentrates or you mix your own, as you can see. Now on a weekly basis, this is the type I'm going to show you. On a weekly basis, I need about 210 kilos of feeds. That's what I use or my chickens consume per week. So that's the quantity I need. Now look at this. For commercial feeds, as you can see, that's the amount I spent, 14,700 Kenya shillings. That is just on the feeds alone. And then for concentrates, I should spend 13,600 shillings. And then when I mix my own, when I source for materials, I look for soya, all that maize, maize jam or maize bran, all that. So I total about 12,700 shillings. That's just per week. Now there's also the cost of transport. You're not done. Remember, you're not done with this. There's a cost of transport that you have to incur for it so that you get the totals. You see. So they are there for commercial feeds. That's 400 shillings. If I use concentrates, which is a bit hardy, as I explained in the previous video, it's a bit difficult to source them. So I have to go all the way to Kisumu, or I'll be lucky if the supplier actually gets them to me closer to my location. So I'll be lucky. Most of the time I have to go there, you see. So I'm spending around close to 700. Now these are just estimates because the situations may change. It may go all the way to 1,000 shillings. This is in transport, because sourcing for these materials, you don't just buy the concentrates. You need the maize, you need the maize jam. Sometimes it's not available where you actually buy it. You see, in the millers that they actually supply to. Sometimes it's not available, you see, parts of the week. So you have to change locations, and that increases the cost of transport for that case. Now when I mix my own, it is actually cheaper because the sources of foods actually are closer to my location, guys. So closer to my market, I can quickly go there, source for the feeds, and then I get them back here. But it's actually there's a cost to that. Now when you look at that, you have a total cost of look at the totals. We have for commercial feeds, as you can see, we have 15,100 shillings. You see, so it's a bit high compared to if I use concentrates, which costs around 14,300 shillings. That is just for the total, the transport cost plus the feeds themselves. And then when I mix my own feeds, that is 13,300 shillings. Now the check comes in when the check or balances comes in, or the problem comes in when you have to look at what you are putting versus what you're getting out. You see, so in terms of egg production, for that alone, so you look at the commercial feeds, guys, because now you look at that percentage, it's between 94 to 96%. That's what I usually get per day. So you look at that and then you think the totals, the cost is very high. 15,000 is a lot per week just on feeds, but you look at the production that you're getting in terms of eggs, that is very high. That is a 96%. It's very high, guys, and it's very good. Now the reason for that is because the commercial feeds have all the ingredients that you need. You have all the appropriate amino acids that you need. We have all the vitamins, all the salts, and they've been put in the right quantities, in the right proportions that are needed, so that your chickens grow healthy and able to lay. You see, so that's why the percentage is very high. Now when you move to concentrates, this is the data I was using, I think 3 months ago, and I haven't used concentrates after that. There are 2 weeks I used them but I did find them to be very, just sourcing for the concentrates alone, I don't know, the people who live closer to Kisumu may be lucky, or closer to major towns are lucky enough that they can, just jump on a motorcycle, a motorbike, and then get the feeds. It's quicker for them. But for me, the location has tied me down to using whatever is available in my location. So that's why it's very difficult for me to use concentrates all the time, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of movement. It involves a lot of work, a lot of movement. You have to be here, there. So I gave up on that, but I may try them later. It's not completely, never to say never. I may try them later, maybe when the conditions align for me. Now moving on to the last bit, which is when I mix my own feeds. You can see it's 80 to 90%. Now that was good. That's just in the beginning. But what I recommend that because these ones, the percentage could be high, 80 to 90% is high. The percentage is high, but in terms of profits, guys, it's a bit low. The margins are a bit low in terms of profits, because you are spending most of the money on feeds. You see, you look at that percentage, 13,300 shillings. You're spending most of the money in the feeds. Now, if your chickens miss, around 2 trays, or even 1.5 trays per day, just missing on that. That is the cost, guys. That is the profits you are, this is being wasted. You see, that's the loss you're making, and that's per day. So you don't want that kind of loss, guys. You don't want that kind of loss per day. You see, every day you are losing 2 trays or 1 tray or 1.5 trays of eggs. So you are losing that. By the end of the week, you'll find that you have accrued all those losses, 7 to maybe 8 trays, and that's a loss. That's a lot of money that you have actually lost. You see, so that's a lot. Now, from these guys, what I'll recommend is that if you mix your own feeds, if you happen to be mixing your own feeds, you have access to raw materials, the major ones, you're able to mix your own feeds. Make sure maybe you're using these in the growing stage of the chickens, guys. You can use these in the growing stage. That's what I would recommend. You see, I used in the growing stage and it worked well for me, except for those 2 weeks that I've mentioned that I didn't feed the chickens well. But the chickens started laying just about right on time. During the 19th week, they started laying. They were supposed to start on the 18th, but they started a week later. So because of the delay in the feeding for the 2 weeks, I think that was the 5th and the 6th week. So that was the problem. Now, I would recommend that you mix your own feeds if the chickens are in the growing stage, because at that point they don't need so much protein. They actually need around 14% of protein, or DCP. That is the digestible crude protein. So that's the percentage they need. So they don't need a lot. Now, for that period, for those 2 months, you can use that. You can mix your own feeds. But when the chickens start laying, when they hit the 4 months, guys, you immediately have to switch to either using concentrates or switch to the commercial feeds. That's the point. They need the layers, guys, because you want to push your percentage all the way up to 96 very quickly and in a steady way. You see, because that's the time the money starts coming in. So that is my recommendation from this video. But remember, there's no such thing from this table. There's no such thing as cheap feeds. Anybody telling you that they can mix feeds for you, or anybody giving you a formula on how to mix feeds, cheaply, is a lie. Now, if you are doing this commercially and you are writing these numbers down, you will find that it's very expensive for both sides, and there are consequences for each of those actions. Now, if you can see in our commercial feeds, the percentage is high. The percentage of egg production is very high. You see, that is the advantage to that. But when I mix my own feeds, you can see the percentage is a bit low, 80 to 90%. That means I'm making some losses. Towards the end of the week, I'm making some losses in terms of the number of trays of eggs that I'm collecting. You see, so that's eating into my profits. Now, the reason for that is because I actually don't have fetching for those amino acids, the important ingredients, the useful vital ingredients that are needed, in addition to the major grains that I have, are missing. So that's the reason I'm not hitting that 96 all the way to 98%. You see, when you mix your feeds. Now, if it's easier for you to fetch those materials, good luck. because those amino acids, the premixes, those things are not easily available to the local market. But if they are available to your area, then well, you are lucky that that's just luck for you. But for most of the people, it's not really available. Now I recommend that you write this down. You write your numbers down. If you're doing this commercially, whether you have 200, 300 or 1,000, 5,000 chickens, you are writing down the numbers down so that you see what actually fits you in your production cost. So that's it, guys. See you next week with more videos.